Hi, class. How are you? I hope you are safe and sound in your respective homes. So, it was just like yesterday when we had our first class. Now we are moving on to lesson 5. That's how time flies, class. So, of course, you're still with me, teacher EmmAnne. So, let's go ahead and let's see our targets for today. So, at the end of this video lesson, you are expected to define speech context, identify the various types of speech context in different situations, and employ appropriate verbal and nonverbal behavior in different speech contexts. So, in our three objectives, we have there the words speech context in each objective. So, I'm pretty sure you know that we will be talking about speech context. Now, a lot of students got confused with the term context and content. Class, these two words are different, okay? They are not even similar. Though there's only one letter there, the X and the N, that is different from them, that differs from their spelling, but their meaning is really different from one another. So oftentimes students say, when I ask them what comes into your mind when you hear the word context, con they often say nilalaman, sir. And when we say nilalaman, that is content and not context. So when we say context, we refer to different situations, different circumstances, different settings. So it depends on the situation, it depends on the circumstance, it depends on the setting. That's what we mean by context. To better understand that, let's read the definition of speech context from luminlearning.com. Context, when referring to speech communication, is the surroundings. Again, that's part of the situation, circumstances, environment, background, or setting. Again, setting that determines, specify, or clarify the meaning of an event. We'll be talking about the different events later on. Speech context 2, according to DeVito, 2005, context refers to the setting in which the communication takes place. So again, it's the setting. Context helps to establish meaning and can influence what is said and how it is said. This is very true, class. It's very um, appropriate, or it's very important to us to know the different speech contexts for us to communicate appropriately, because it's going to be different when you are talking to a friend as compared to talking to the public. It's also different when you are just talking to yourself and you're about to post something online. So those things are all different. Now, before we delve deeper on the different types of speech context, let's go ahead and try to answer this short activity. So you have to read carefully these five phrases, and you have to choose from these choices. This is also included in your module on page 5. So, consoling a friend who is feeling down. So, that's number 1. So, what do you think is the answer? Take a look at here. Is it communication in public, communication with self, communication between two persons, mass communication, or communication in small groups? So you have there a friend. So when we say a friend, it means only one. So it's communicating between two persons. Correct. Next, number 2, cheering yourself up before an important event. We have the keyword there, yourself. So you are alone. We also have here it's communication with self. How about number 3, delivering your graduation speech to your fellow graduates. This is Of course, I'm pretty sure you are familiar with this because you had this when you were in elementary and junior high school. You had your graduation. That is communication in public. Let's proceed to number 4, discussing your assigned report with your group mates. So when we say group mates, again, we also have there the word group. So communication in small group there. And of course, we have last one, articulating your stand on a pressing issue in the editorial page. So when we say editorial page, that has something to do with newspaper, and newspaper is part of mass communication. Newspaper is part of the tri-media, the print, radio, and television. It's under the print, of course. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the types of speech context. If you have come across the multiple intelligences, I'm pretty sure that you are familiar with intrapersonal and interpersonal. So, but for those who are not familiar, don't worry. We're going to discuss it later on. Public and mass communication. So let's discuss first the intrapersonal. When we say intrapersonal, our keyword there is one person, and that one person is yourself. So you act both as a sender and as the receiver of the message. Your medium here is your brain. When we say medium class, the other term for that is the channel. Okay. So that's the means of communication. It's through your thoughts and feelings. And okay, and the brain will process that. Next, we have example here. There is a voice within you that tells you it's okay, you can still do it, you can make it, when you are losing your drive to finish the task that you are doing. And another example would be when you told yourself not to talk to your friends when you have read in a Facebook post that they were in a party and you were not invited. Nagtampo ka. So, class, I have come across with an article in New York Times, and it tells the benefits of talking to yourself. So this was written by Kristen Wong. So according to Ethan Cross, in that article, there are two types of self-talk. One is motivational self-talk, and number two is instructional self-talk. So I guess we are familiar with motivational self talk. It's talking to yourself to uplift your spirit. But according to that, it's better to use second or third point of view to have the concept of self distancing. Because if you are on a specific problem, you can't think rationally. Okay, so you have to distance yourself a bit by saying, "Hey, Emman, you can do it," as if someone else is advising you. All right. Next, number 2, instructional self-talk. Let's see what an expert say about this. So this is an statement. This is a statement from Gary Lupian, a researcher and psychology professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. So in here, my bet is that self-talk works best on problems where you're trying to stay on task and there are possible distractions. For tasks with multi-step sequence, talking to yourself out loud can help you keep out distractions and remind yourself where you are. This is under instructional self-talk. And personally, class, I have proven this because every time I do grades or I write cards, I dictate the grades for me not to get confused and to have focus with the things that I'm doing. So you might want to try that when you are um, answering math problems since it requires multi-step sequence. Now let's move on to interpersonal communication. When we say interpersonal, of course, um, it's not longer, you are no longer alone. you are it takes place between and among people. And usually we do interpersonal. We talk with our friends for social interaction, for pleasure. Okay, so normally includes two individuals, and it vary, of course, from casual to very personal to formal and impersonal. Of course, casual and very personal if you are talking to your best friend, to your parents, but it's going to be formal if you are in a job interview or if you are talking to your teacher, especially if it's your first meeting. And impersonal also if you are talking to someone who is not close to you. Next, let's have the types of interpersonal communication. We have dyad and small group. When we say dyad class, it means two. So when we say dyad communication, it happens between two people. Die. Okay. So examples, we have you consoled your brother who was feeling down. So the character here is you and your brother. And number two, a conversation between your father and mother about the latest announcement of your barangay chairman. So the characters there are your parents, and you are not included there. Now let's move on to small group. Be take note of the number here. It's 12 people. Two, three, at least three, but not more than 12. Okay, so 3 to 12 people. That's under small group. All right. It says here engage in face-to-face interaction, but this can also happen if you are in video conference with your friends. Okay, in this type of conversation, all participants can freely express their ideas throughout the discussion. I hope you still remember the model of communication, and this is under good. This is under transactional model of communication. Now let's proceed to the examples. You're having a discussion with your two brothers about the surprise party you are planning for mom's birthday. So you are here talking to your two brothers, or you are now three. Okay. Next, let's have Kathleen, who came back from the United States, called her three brothers and four sisters and announced that she is getting married. So, how many characters do we have there? Three brothers and four sisters, Kathleen and uh, yes, there. So, three plus four, that's seven plus Kathleen, it's eight. They are eight. So, that's small group. Now let's proceed to public. Our keyword here is, of course, the crowd. You are giving a message to a crowd. And normally it's you have purpose. You have purposes. In your book, on page 7, you have there the functions of communication. The persuasive purposes will fall under motivation, and of course the informative will go under information dissemination. So for interpersonal, most of the time you communicate for social interaction, that's for pleasure. But for public, of course, you can't do chismisan in front of a lot of people, of course. There should be a purpose, and that is to persuade, and normally to persuade and to inform. And the manner or the in public communication, unlike interpersonal small group, the channels are more exaggerated. So you speak louder, and your nonverbal, your gestures are more expansive, bigger. All right. Next. So let's have example. Again, this is the example in our activity a while ago, the graduation speech. And here you were elected as the new SSG president of your school, and you were given a chance to deliver a message of gratitude to your fellow students. So there. Let's now proceed to the last one, the mass communication. So mass communication refers to communication through TV, radio, newspapers, magazines, books, billboards, the internet and other types of media. The other types of media is, of course, your social media, and you are very familiar with that. Examples: you are watching a televised briefing of IATF on COVID 19, and you have recorded a commentary for your school's online discussion on the pandemic and uploaded it on your social media account. So if you notice, class, mass communication caters larger audience, larger than public, okay, wider audience. So verbal and nonverbal behavior in a speech context. So when talking to yourself, class, use self-talk to your advantage. So there are advantages when you are talking to yourself. Again, that's instructional self-talk and motivational self-talk. But of course, you should not overdo it, class. Otherwise, um, people might say that you are insane. And according to your manual, the most common reason why you talk to yourself is that you don't have someone else to talk with. So to solve that, of course, you have to be more sociable. Okay, this one, this is very basic. When talking to someone, you listen carefully, you listen to understand and not to respond. You check your tone and body language. I discussed this thoroughly on our previous lesson, lesson 4. And let's proceed. When talking to the public, there's a lot of preparations needed, from analysis of your audience to your script and to practice and everything. So we have a different discussion on this when we reach the principles of speech delivery. So for using when using mass media, of course you have to think before you click. You have to share something sensible, something beneficial for the society, and not just rant. So now let's have this activity. This is similar but not the same on your Mojo. Okay, so crossword puzzle, complete the puzzle below. There, complete the puzzle here by identifying the 4 types of speech context and 2 types of interpersonal communication evident in the presented situation. So number 1, Migi 6 help to Miko. So there are 2. Um, this is under, what is it? Let's see. Interpersonal, because there's a lot of letters to put in there. Number 2, principal interviews an applicant. So this is number 2. We only have 4-letter word. So that is diet. Next, number 3, Anna cheers herself up. So we have there the clue. It's long and we have T there. Don't be confused, class. Interpersonal, and we have intrapersonal because Anna is talking to herself. Number 4, webinar via Facebook Live. This is mass communication. Next, number 5, 4 students rather discuss thesis proposal. That is small group. Yes. Number 6, mayor gives a speech to his townsfolk. That is public. Yay, I hope you got a perfect score there. Now let's proceed to the assessment. You have to answer with me for you to practice our lessons, to review our lessons. Which of the following is not a speech context? A, intrapersonal communication. B, direct communication. 3, long distance communication. Letter D, public communication. What is your answer? Good. It's letter C. We did not discuss this in our class, in our lesson rather. Next, which one of the following is not an example of intrapersonal communication? Letter A, sending a text to a friend. Hmm. We have there two characters, so not example. Okay, we have two there. Talking to yourself. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're talking about intrapersonal class. Talking to yourself, writing a note to yourself, thinking about a problem. So our choices here, we have, you have to cross out letter B and letter C because we have the keywords there explicitly mentioned. Yourself, thinking about a problem. So you are alone. Cross out letter D. So the correct answer is letter A because you are sending a text message to a friend, and that is under interpersonal, under diet. Next. Number three, which of these is an example of dyadic communication? I just mentioned that, class. Two brothers arguing, a coach and a player discussing last week's game. Letter C, a husband and wife making plans for summer vacation. And letter D, all of these are correct. So let's see, dyad, that's two here, two, a coach and a player, two, a husband and wife, two. So the correct answer is, of course, letter D. Let's go to number four. Why do you think group communication involves a different set of skills than interpersonal communication? It is because blank. In group, one sender has many different receivers to take into account. In a group, one receiver has many different senders to take into account. Letter C, group by definition consists more people than two people, consists more than two people. Letter D, group communication is more important than interpersonal communication. Letter D is very biased. Let's have letter A, B, C. We discussed the definition of group class. That is, I'm sorry, letter C. All right. Let's proceed to number five. Which of the following is not true about hmm, speech context? So in public communication, unlike in interpersonal and small group, the channels are more exaggerated, the voice is louder, and the gesture are expansive because the audience is bigger. I think we discussed this. This is true. The most common reason why people end up talking to themselves is because they feel like they do not have someone else to talk to. I guess I mentioned this too, that there is C, different speech context, whether it is intrapersonal, interpersonal, public, or mass communication, requires different behavior. However, there might be some occasional similarities. This seems to be true too. All right. In interpersonal communication, asking clarifying question lets the other person know that you are not listening attentively. This is not true. Of course, when you ask question, you are clarifying something, and that means you're listening still. Number six. For number 6 to 10, you identify the type of speech context evident in the following situation. You provided reassuring and comforting words to a friend who was feeling down. That is letter A, diet rather, B, public, mass communication, intrapersonal. So you are two, that is correct, diet. Number 6, you are having a discussion with your group mates on how to finish the assigned task. So you have their group mates. So that is small group discussion. I will not be reading the choices because the video is more than 20 minutes already. Karen thinks about the things she did the whole day and writes them in her journal. So Karen is writing alone with her journal. That is intrapersonal. Yes. Number 9, the TV news anchor. We have there TV news anchor is giving the latest news update. Okay, that is, of course, we have the word TV. That's mass communication. Next, number 10, group 5, discuss. We have there group, discuss the effects of social media on communication. This is, of course, interpersonal. Easy. Number 11. For number 11, you just have to tell whether the given statement is true or false. In intrapersonal communication, the message is made up of thoughts and feelings. True. Number 12. In small group communication, all participants can freely share ideas in a loose and open discussion. What is your answer? Correct, that's true. Number 13, participating in the declamation, oration, debate, or storytelling activity is an example of small group communication. This is false. Declamation, oration, debate, or storytelling are under good public. Next, last. No, I have another one. To become an effective public speaker, you have to be yourself while you are on stage and speak in the audience be that you will easily be understood by your audience. Your answer? It's true. Of course, even though it's public speaking, your personality still should come out. Number 15, just like in small group communication, the channel in public communication should be exaggerated. This is false. So in small group discussion, you can be relaxed and loose because you are just talking with a small group. Now you have to listen carefully, class, because I'm about to tell you the task that you will do. So do not answer everything for what I have learned. Only answer number 1 and number 4. For what I can do, you have to answer the 4. This is easy. You have to give description and then give 3 examples. Be guided with the rubrics. Okay, it's in your manual or it's in your module. The rubrics is there. And of course, let's give due respect to the writers here and our references. All right. So that's it for today, class. Enjoy learning and hope to see you soon. Hopefully, we will have face to face discussion soon. I'm very excited to see you all. Bye and enjoy learning.